Ahora vamos a hacer otro plato usando la idea que el altramousse es un chickpea. Vamos a hacer un hummus. What I just said in Spanish is using the same idea of using a hummus-based dish with chickpeas. We're going to use the altramousse. So I already cleaned the altramousse the way that I showed you previously. And I'm basically going to cook the altramousse for about maybe 15-20 minutes. They're already been cooked, but I'm just going to soften them up a little bit with my, of course, I need to still cook my chickpeas, and we're going to mix them together. This is going to give us, you could by all means do a hummus-like dish with just altramousses, but it's going to be a little bit more grimy. So what I'm looking for here is creating the smooth paste sauce-like or component for this dish with hummus, with chickpeas, and adding that grittiness of the altramousse once it's cooked. You guys are gonna love this, by the way. So what we're gonna do first is this. I'm gonna get my previously soaked chickpeas. So I soaked them for about 24 hours, or the longer you can soak them, the better. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of baking soda. Now I'm gonna fill this up with water. Just enough cold water to cover the chickpeas. Make sure our baking soda is completely incorporated. Now I'm gonna bring this to boil, and I'm gonna cook this for about 30 minutes. Okay, so that's gonna be the first part of this. We cook the chickpeas 30 minutes. We add a tiny teaspoon of baking soda. We make sure that the chickpeas, we're not adding any salt or any seasoning for that matter. We just want to soften the chickpeas, okay? And there's a little note, a little tip as well here. So what I do when I soak my chickpeas the day before, I add another teaspoon of baking soda to the water. The baking soda creates a reaction in the chickpeas that make them soft or softer. Okay, now half an hour had passed, and my chickpeas, the water, the smell of the water, the stock, the chickpea stock is already tasty. It's already, I can feel my saliva start like jumping in my mouth. So I want to show you, what are you looking for when half an hour had since skirt when you're doing. What I'm looking here is I should be able to press the chickpea, it's really hot, with my finger, and it should be able to come off very easily, okay? So if I press it and the chickpea is still hard, that means that it requires a little bit more time cooking. Now I do this before I add my vegetables because we're still gonna cook this for another maybe half an hour, 25 minutes, but this is what we're gonna do. As soon as our chickpeas are cooked, I'm gonna add, or partially cooked, I'm gonna add my altramousses, or lumpinis. I'm gonna add a couple pieces of onions. I'm gonna add garlic. I have my aromatics. I'm gonna add celery. And I'm gonna add carrots. Now I'm gonna bring this back to boil, and I'm gonna simmer that for another 20 minutes. I want my vegetables to be soft because I am going to use for this particular recipe the carrots for my hummus. I want the sweetness of the carrots to transpire through the saltiness and the fiber of the lumpini, as well as that smooth sort of very interesting flavor from the chickpeas that only chickpeas have. I personally think that adding the carrot to a hummus dish, it just, that sweetness brings the dish to a different level. So I'm just gonna bring this back to boil. We're almost done. This is a very quick recipe dish that I'm making for you guys, and you guys can do this in a pinch. It really takes 45 minutes from beginning to end to cook the chickpeas and the altramousses. Now, I believe our vegetables are ready, and the chickpeas were already good to go 30 minutes down the road, but I just wanted to make sure that my vegetables were cooked all the way because I'm going to be using my beautiful carrots for this. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna discard all the vegetables that I don't want, like celery, of course the bay leaves. I don't want the onions. You can keep them. Remember, this is not a sentence. Is you don't have to follow my lead on here. You can just follow your instincts and what you want to do. But I can see the altramuces now. The smell with the altramuces and the carrots, the sweetness of it is just. You know, if you guys weren't watching me, I would probably start digging. So that's as good as it smells. I'm gonna open this up, and this is what we're gonna do. Now, you may be wondering, hold on a second, he's not straining the liquid, right? Well, that's okay, because we want that liquid in our hummus. If you don't have liquid in the hummus, it will get, your hummus will get, it will be very pasty. That's the word that I'm looking for. So I'm gonna add here. Oh, yeah, perfect. There it is. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of the liquid. Just enough to cover, or barely cover. You can see here. It's barely covered. So you see the liquid is here. I don't want it completely covered because otherwise I make a chickpea soup. But look at this, right? Can you hear that? That's beautiful. So I make sure I get all my altramuses there, which are delicious. Remember, the altramuses tend to be salty, so you do not want to keep adding salt into this dish until you taste it, okay? I reserved some of the liquid just to make sure that it's good to go. Always keep in mind, safety is number one concern where you're cooking. When you're using a blender and a hot liquid, if you cover the lid with the plastic and everything, the moment I put it in and I turn it on, the pressure and the buildup would happen here in such a force that would make it would pop the lid to the ceiling, and basically all the hot liquid would come out everywhere, and God forbid you would end up burning yourself, right? So be very, very careful when you do that. I don't even know how you call this thing, but you remove the top part of it, the top of the top, and then with a towel, you're gonna cover the little hole. So once again, if you don't cover it, all the liquid will come out flying, right? And always remember, start number one. You never crank the full speed, okay? Number one, you see slowly. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm gonna let it go. Now you can see here that my hummus stopped moving. So now you can see here that the chickpea mousse is not, or the altramus is not moving anymore, the hummus. So just have to move it around a little bit, and I'm just gonna do just a little bit. Put it back again. Remember, start in low speed. Put it on. You might feel that you want to add more things at this point. Just wait. We're looking for the hummus to be smooth. At this point, I'm going to add my tahini, okay? You know what? Why not? Let's just add more tahini. Tahini is one of those ingredients that's delicious as well. I'm going to add a tiny bit of lemon juice. And once again, Alberquina olive oil. Beautiful. I'm going to cover this beauty. I'm going to crank the speed. Beautiful. So now we're going to take our beautiful hummus. We haven't seasoned it yet, so we have to season this beauty. Remember, as it gets cold, it's gonna get harder. So you have to kind of balance it out. The recipe that I sent to you is like it's gonna make it perfectly in terms of the texture. So just follow it to the teeth. But once again, once you start getting familiar with how to make this, then you can add and change as you please. At this point, I'm gonna get a bit of salt. We haven't added any. I mean, aside of the Altramousse, we haven't added really anything to it. Just gonna make sure that is nicely mixed. Look at this. Look at this, beautiful, eh? Wow. Now we're gonna try this. It's coming together. I think it needs a little bit of acidity. Salt is just about there. I'm just gonna, I don't want to add too much salt, and then once you pass that sort of threshold of being seasoned well, then it becomes salty and the whole thing is ruined. So I often also like to, I don't like to under-season things, but I like to just keep them as if I think that something is just like, I think you may need a little bit something else, I'll just stop. So I let my customers or my family or my guests to have the last choice, the last saying. It's delicious. A little bit more lemon. It's incredible how lemon brings the acidity on the dishes. It brings the whole, it's like a different dish. I wish you guys were with me right now. I mean, you guys are, but physically be with. So I have my plate. Look at this. This is something that you guys could do. No problem. Look at this. Wow. I just kind of let it be a little bit like organic. Of course, since I'm taking you through the Iberica Peninsula, you cannot serve something without paprika. So here it is. Taking it to the valleys of Extremadura. And just to keep it a little traditional, we have a bit of Satar. Look at that. A little bit of herbs. I get a bit of parsley here, but you can do, once again, whatever you want to. I don't like to cut my herbs. I don't like to do them chiffonade. I don't like to cut them into little pieces. I don't like to mince them or anything like that. I like to keep my herbs sort of big, so when you try it, you have the flavor into it, right? Now, take a look at this, eh? Wow. I'll say it in Spanish because I forget the word in English, but no escatimes con el aceite de oliva. It's just, it makes the whole dish. And last but not least, the altramousses. God, look at this. And once again, this is a personal preference. Of course, you can just peel them. But you know what? They're just so beautiful the way they are. Sometimes you gotta peel it yourself to get into the core of it. Look at it. This is delicious. A little bit of pita, flatbread, focaccia, tortillas, you name it. This is an incredible dish.